What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I had a trade on Friday. It's right now Sunday. I took a trade on Friday, and we're gonna go over that exact trade. It was on IWM. IWM puts that to the downside. I made 30% on these. A few contracts went over 30%, but my average sell price between all the contracts was 30%. So, that being said, as you can see on my screen, we have IWM pulled up right now, and we're gonna go, not to the 1 minute, we're gonna go to the 1 hour time frame and just kind of see what I was looking at. So we had lows down here on IWM, and it's actually on the 4 hour. Honestly, can't remember if we ended up having news. I'm gonna guess that we did by this candle. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had news in the morning on Friday. But with that being said, we on the hourly time frame, we had these lows down here to be able to take out this 216.64 area, and then below that, if we're going to move lower, there's further lows below that for IWM to be able to take out, but they're on the 4 hour time frame. So I marked these out like somewhat recently. So they're over here. They're these lows, boom and boom. And I marked them out just because we should go down there, right? We basically had this huge sell-off. This is a 4 hour time frame. Huge sell-off, huge drop right here. It's just a gap down, right? We came back up, filled 50% retracement of that gap on the 4 hour time frame, and now we should be able to continue to sell off. I'm not exactly sure if that's, where the market is going to, stop pulling back. But for right now, we're just playing things to the downside. We can play calls within there as well, but my particular trade on Friday was to the downside. So you can see we had those two levels right there. And if we go on the 5 minute time frame, this is why I took the trade. So we had some news in the morning. Oh, if I can get this thing to look better. Hold up. We had some news in the morning, right? And QQQ was slightly different than this. So I was watching QQQ and IWM. I ended up taking the trade on IWM, although QQQ looked better. But recently, QQQ, I ended up taking a loss on QQQ on, it was earlier this week. I think it was Tuesday, or Tuesday last week. And I ended up taking a loss on it on shares. And ever since then, it was just a stupid loss. It was like price went in, right? I entered perfectly. Price went in, chopped me out basically. Like chopped me out and then just went slightly outside of my zone and then went right in my direction. So it was pretty frustrating. And since then, I've just kind of stayed away from QQQ. But I did watch it on Friday, but I didn't enter it on Friday because I didn't like it. So the true lows were down here for QQQ, and it makes a little bit more sense on QQQ at 504.14. So we had those from, I believe is from the 4 hour time frame. We can just look here. Yeah, they're from the 4 hour time frame as well. So they're all the way over here. This was not a low. I forget what that level is. I think that's like a 50%. I marked it out. Maybe it's an hourly. Yeah, I think it's an hourly low. Maybe not. Yeah, it is. It's an hourly low. So it was an hourly low that we retraced into. But overall, I was watching QQQ and then I was kind of playing IWM off of it as well. So back over to IWM. This is the actual instrument I took a trade off of. But we ended up pushing down. So we're going to go to the 5 minute time frame, like I said. And this is why I took the trade. So we had this huge push down on QQQ. We ended up pulling back to like 50% retracement of this fair value gap right here, roughly 50%, and then we ended up rejecting out of it. IWM, once I saw QQQ rejecting out of that, IWM had the same gap down, but it didn't have the same retracement back up. So that's why I was watching QQQ at the same time. QQQ ended up getting rejected halfway, and then IWM basically ended up just following it. Once I saw us end up getting rejected, we're also respecting 9 and 20 EMAs right here. I see basically us put in all these highs in the pre-market, and then we go up, sweep those highs, and then we, push back up right here and then end up having that leg down. And I drew this breaker block off of that leg down, and all I did was wait for a price to pull back up into that area. Now we already took these lows, so we already took 216.64 and then 215.93, but we like barely took this low, right? So that's why I kind of thought, and we also had this low below there, so I thought that price could end up pushing all the way down to this low since we were so close to it already. So once price pushed down and pulled back up and began respecting these on the 5-minute time frame, first of all respecting the breaker block, and then on top of that respecting the 9 and 20 EMAs, I switched down to the 1-minute time frame. Never mind, it wasn't a 2-minute time frame. It was the 2-minute time frame, and then I basically just zoomed in from there. My target was these lows right here. Pretty clear draw on liquidity. So with that being said, I just, once price started to reject out of this breaker block up here, all I did was read price action. So let's get the drawing tool real quick. Let's get a box. So we came up, first of all, we made that high. We made a lower high within here. And then we end up rejecting out of that. And then what do? We end up building or creating a fair value gap right in here. It's kind of hard to see that, but you're not gonna be able to see it because, let me see if I can make it a different color. Sometimes it won't. Okay, whatever. You can kind of see that. It's behind the other one, but regardless, we ended up coming back up into this 2-minute fair value gap right in here, and then rejecting off 920 and 45 EMAs, and then pushing further to the downside. Now, I entered this pretty late, so as you can see, I waited for a break of structure to the downside. So once this candle closed, I entered because we had a break of structure to the downside. So this would have been the low. We broke that right here, closed below it, and then I basically just set stops. Now, it was a wider stop, but I set stops above this candle, above this series of down close candles, set it above this one right here. So then we just pretty much just ended up respecting the 9 EMA all the way down, slightly breaking above here, still hadn't hit the target, right? Pushed down again, not quite hitting the target. And at this point, I was starting to get a little bit worried, thinking that it could just reverse and go straight back up, which I did not want to happen, obviously, because we were so close to this. I wanted to lock in the profits. And then we ended up one more test, and we actually ended up testing the 20 EMA at this time, and then going straight down. And I remember this candle right here. I should have sold on that one, but we ended up coming back up and then retesting it, and I sold right here on this candle. So overall, it was a pretty simple trade. There was more of a move down. I apologize for that. That's my light. My light fell down. There was more of a move down for sure. So I pretty much just had to wait for that to break to the downside a little bit more. So I knew that we wanted to revisit it. And then as soon as I saw price respecting the 5-minute breaker block right here, I knew that we had some more downside to go. Now, some things I could improve on this, definitely my entry. I definitely should have entered up here, or maybe entered after we got this down close 2-minute candle, and then set stops maybe above this recent high right here, or just above this high, keeping my loss, like my risk to reward ratio, like as best as possible, right? Keeping the loss as minimal as possible. But overall, it was still a solid trade. Probably definitely not like an A+ setup, but I would say like a B+ setup more than likely. But overall, price pretty much just respected bearish structure to the downside, and we just followed it through. And like I have said in previous videos, IWM has pretty solid price action in terms of respecting breaker blocks, order blocks, fair value gaps, and things like that. It will basically let you know where it wants to go. And on top of that, it respects levels and liquidity to a T. Just like this area right here, you can see we literally respect it perfectly, get a couple of bounces, and then we end up reversing to the upside. Although there was pretty much no entry on this right here. Like maybe there would have been an entry here on the 1 minute. Let's see if we can find an entry on the 1 minute. Yeah, probably not, to be honest with you. I mean, we had some consolidation. What you could do if you wanted to on IWM, I'll be honest, I would trust this more on IWM than I would on QQQ. But what you could do if you wanted to on IWM would be, okay, we're down at this level of liquidity, right? We're beginning to turn around. we're getting closer to the 9 and 20 EMAs. I would say you see this consolidation on the 1 minute. You see a break and close above the 9 on the 1 minute or on the 2 minute if you wanted to. And then it just basically just enter off of that. Enter off of a break above and a close above the 9 EMA on the 1 minute. So that basically would have been here, right? Because you're basically just waiting. Price is accumulating right here, waiting for that 9 to catch up. And then once you see that break above, you could either take it on this candle or you could take it on this candle. And then just target upside liquidity. So target this fair value gap. So let me get rid of this. This just would have been another trade to possibly take. So this fair value gap right here. So we obviously go straight up to it. So target 50% of that or target all the way through it, right? We ended up going all the way through it. So on the 1 minute, we went all the way through that fair value gap. And then we would have, we could have taken profits close to the top or just on the other side of that fair value gap up there. But that could have been another trade you could have taken. That's only something that I would do with IWM just because it respects levels so perfectly. Obviously, as you can see, boom. And then did the same thing over here, right? We had a bounce, and then accumulation and a break above. Now, obviously, this ended up moving down farther, so probably not the second bounce. So we bounced here multiple times, and then 2, 3, 4. Like the more that we're gonna bounce it, it's obviously more likely that we're gonna end up breaking below it, and obviously we did. And then we ended up finding support in that area, and then kind of pushing back up. But overall, that could have been another trade you could have taken. Wait for accumulation at that area, make sure it did take that low, touch that area, and then just wait for it to break above the 9 EMA, and then set your stops above the lows. That's pretty much it. But overall, hopefully you guys kind of learned something from this. That was my trade overall. It was 30%, a very slow trade, to be honest with you. I'm hoping to get some better trades and make some good learning lessons for you guys over this next upcoming week. So if you guys have not already, hit that subscribe button down below and like this video for more videos like this one. Check out the Discord in the bio or in the description down below as well. It's called the Bullionaires Club, and then I'll be trading live on there, and then giving some daily levels as well. So I'll probably end up just doing screenshots in there and just posting areas of liquidity. But overall, yeah, hopefully this improves your guys' trading, and hopefully you guys learned something from this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.